All right. Good morning again, everyone, and thank you for joining this week's Weekly Wave. This call is going to be focused more, at least this week, on some updates related to reports in the Wave. We do have a few PEBT updates for you, but again, this call today is going to be pretty specifically focused on information pertaining to the Wave and not strictly to PEBT as we had covered last week. So to get started, right off the bat, our office is experiencing, again, for seemingly a couple weeks in a row, we're experiencing a pretty high call volume as well as an influx of emails, and that is slowing down our response time. We are a small team and we are kind of monitoring a number of reports. So please bear with us in terms of reach out. If you are emailing us repeatedly, we will get back to you as soon as we can. We are receiving your emails unless you're getting a this email has bounced auto reply from whichever email platform you're using. Just assume that your email has been received from the Data and Information Systems Office, and you should get a response back from us. Typically, at least right now, depending on the report, it may be unfortunately about a week in terms of response. Otherwise, you should hear back from us sometime within the same week that you have reached out to us. Again, this is not an ideal turnaround time, but right now we are experiencing quite a bit of calls related to the various reports that we do have going on. So just bear with our small team right now. We will get back with you, hopefully with a pretty specific solution to your question, if you had mentioned that in your email or voicemail. So to go on with that, in terms of reports, we are still making corrections with the dropout report. You may not hear from us specifically, but you may see some movement on your report. We are working behind the scenes to try and get a lot of the issues that are causing you all to reach out to us corrected before hand. Otherwise, we will reach back out to you to get more information on any particular question that you're posing to us. In terms of the annual statistical report at the student level, we are still getting quite a bit of questions related to your attendance in terms of clear and read polls. Now, in a lot of cases, we will and can do that for you, but we do want to keep in mind that we do have a request schedule for both calendars and attendance, which is 90% of this report. And we do request for that information throughout the week and over the weekend. So if you're expecting changes to happen to your calendar and your student information system vendor is not set up to send changes without prompts from the state, you will not see any changes in terms of your calendars aside from on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And the same thing goes with the attendance. We only request for attendance on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, unless your student information system vendor has made some adjustments to allow for that to be sent to the state without us specifically requesting for that data. And if you do need the printable version of what I just said, that is in the chat for you right now. So again, if you're having specific issues with attendance and you're seeing that you're making changes in your student information system and they're not reflecting on the report, and it's a day where you know that we've requested for the information and we waited the 24 hours and you're still not seeing that information on the report, please reach out to our office or state aid, and we will take a look and see if there's a communication breakdown between the WAVE and your student information system, or what. For those of you who've been working with this report for a few years or for at least 1 year, you'll know that we did have issues where if you say changed a student from absent to present, we were not seeing that information reflecting on the report. You had to always ask the state to clear and re-pull your data so that those students were no longer showing up as absent. We do have a process in place now where if for some reason the data is not being sent to us on any of the days that we're requesting, your student information system has 2 days to send us the information, or we will manually or automatically, we'll delete that information. So for example, if your student information system sent us a absent on Tuesday, and the next time we request it on Thursday, that information is not sent. By the following Tuesday, that information should no longer be on the report, assuming that you haven't reached out to us between now and then and asked us to clear and re-pull. So there is a question in the chat, and thank you for answering that. But for the folks who cannot see the chat, there's a question: does transportation pull on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday? And yes, I should have put that on the slide as well. Attendance and transportation are requested on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And we do pull the transportation number directly from what is sent to us through transportation. And we will do some calculations in terms of attendance to make sure that that matches up with your calendar information and membership. So everything is related to your calendars at first, and then your attendance will come into play after that. We are starting to get a few questions about the Title I report information. And using my data, you can filter for students that have the Title I, and that is a typo here, the Title I column where that equals yes, if your if your school is not school-wide. For those of you who are a targeted school, you'll know that you have to specifically code each student that is receiving Title I services as yes, otherwise they should be listed as no. And if you're missing any students, that is more than likely the reason why you're not seeing an accurate count for that particular report. The Federal Programs Office has started to reach out to districts who they know have a miscoding between the grants management system and the WAVE. Next year, we will have a validation in place, so this is not a surprise to you all at the end of the year. So just be aware that you may be contacted by our Federal Programs Office if you haven't already, to make changes in your student information system to make sure that the correct number of students are showing on that report. And last really update from us today is in terms of the data validation warning for students that are expected to graduate. You'll see the error may say something along the lines of graduation date is not provided. This is just a warning, and it is something that does start to pop up around this time of the year for your seniors. But we are aware that for some districts and some sites, not all of your seniors are being flagged correctly for this particular error. Come this time next year, as we've kind of mentioned in a couple of previous calls, we are going to be revamping the way that we display validation errors to you all. And so this is going to be one that hopefully is fixed and is a little bit more straightforward on why that error is popping up and how you can fix it if the student has or is expected to graduate in the same year. Okay, so last kind of WAVE specific update before I generally give you all some updates about the PEBT report. I do want to mention that the WAVE will be rolling over on July 12th. That is our expected day that we'll be taking the wave offline. And by offline, we do mean that we will no longer be accepting data coming from your student information system, and we should not be requesting for any data as well from your student information system. So, so around that time, or during that time, we'll be rolling over to the 2021-2022 school year, and will no longer be accepting school year 2021 information. We will be monitoring to make sure that we're not having any issues in terms of district rollover, in terms of some processes that we do know some student information systems have in terms of massive edits at the end of the year, and kind of et cetera, along those lines. So if you are getting any specific emails from us or your vendor about that rollover process, don't be alarmed. This is just something we're trying to correct, so that when it comes to reports that are very reliant on end of year data, we make sure that we get all of this information that you have in your student information system before you start to roll over. All right, and so onwards to the PEBT validation. Now we do have two issues that we are still kind of working on getting corrected. And at this moment in time, I do not have a ETA on when those will be rolled out. But in terms of those of you who are stuck on having to log into Google to see data, that is being worked out. This was not something that was supposed to be a requirement for you all. You should not have to make a Google account to log in to see the students that are in this report, as well as any site or district that is aware that they are missing any data. There are some code changes that are happening to this report to account for that. And as soon as I'm aware of what the ETA is, or Eric is, we will make sure to let you all know when those corrections are made. Last call, we mentioned that we would be releasing a FAQ document that is still routing through our building to make sure that we have a good number of questions with potential, well, not potential, with an answer available to you all. Hopefully by this time next week, this FAQ will have already been released. So if there are any questions related to it, we can go over that during our next weekly wave call. So outside of those three things, if you do have any specific questions, right now, the folks that you will want to contact is our office. Eric should be getting back with you all, or somebody else from our team. We'll answer your question if we can. And so our email address is studentdatainfo@sdv.ok.gov. And I see there are a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to pause here on our last slide and try and answer some of those if they haven't already been. Okay. So on the dropout report, if you are using the on-screen data entry option to enter any missing or update existing exit information, right now the report is set up to only allow you to enter dates pertaining to school year 20. So if you're putting in information related to a, say, records request that you got over the summer, the correct information that you want to put in is the last instructional day for the previous school year. We've got a lot of folks, just like in this example here, putting in August of 2020, and that is not going to be allowable because that is a date that that is a date that is pertaining to school year 21.
Right. So if the student finished out the school year, I don't have an exit date, but he's going to show on my dropout report because he didn't return to us.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't get him off of the dropout report?
Unless the student transferred to another school district and
he did. That's what I'm saying. We received the records request in August. Mm-hmm. So I can't go back and put an exit date because there is no exit date. He finished the school year out, but he's now at another school.
Gotcha. Okay. So this may be one of those situations where, I know like a lot of the situations that we're correcting right now are related to the state testing number. And so that's probably why if they transfer to another public school in state, why they're still showing up on your report. If you haven't already, send us an email and we will look that student up and see.
So you want a specific email about specific students?
If you just generally email us, we'll just take a look at the site in question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Oh, yes. For full-time equivalent students, full-time or half-time, those doesn't really matter. We're pulling district-wide for any data pool that we're doing. So for attendance, transportation, and calendars and whatnot, we're just pulling all the information for the entire district. We're not doing anything site specifically or enrollment specific. Okay. Okay, I'm going to generally answer this question about ownership. If you are ever seeing a situation where you've got a self-conflict, meaning you've got when you go into the ownership wizard, you see a student and the enrollment overlap is with the same site that they are enrolled in. So you're seeing two lines of enrollment for the same site for the same time period for the same student. 9 times out of 10, what's going on there is for some reason, we're being sent multiple records with different ID numbers from your student information system. So it's pretty simple fix for us. We will just go ahead and clear out that enrollment and re-pull it. If it comes back, we'll let you know that this is something that your vendor is going to need to continue to look at. But generally speaking, it should not reoccur unless something else in your student information system triggers it to send us a brand new enrollment record for that student. And for that, I will answer you directly in the chat for that second question. And if you're making, again, with the dropout report, if you're making updates in your student information system for information pertaining to the school year 20, we are not going to receive that information. Once you roll over to a new school year, your student information system will not send us previous year data. And the WAVE cannot accept that as well. This is not something that we're choosing to do. This is a standard process with the just across the board. Doesn't really matter what data standard you're following. Just for consistency of our information, we do not get previous year information once you're in a new school year. So if that question in the chat here is related to that, that is why. Otherwise, if you're making edits for school year 2021 information, that should be coming across just fine. And we will find out or later on this afternoon if we have any more wiggle room in terms of leaving this report open for corrections for the dropout report. And yes, I will stay on the call for a little bit afterwards to go over those distance learning attendance codes. Okay, we had another question in the chat, not related to dropout, but for post-secondary opportunities that exists right now in the accountability reporting application in single sign-on. If you're having any issues with the way that the data is pulling up on that report, I would initially send that email over to our accountability office, and they'll route it over to us if there are any specific questions with the way that they're they've got that data laid out right now. I can generally tell you if you are using a block course, we are expecting to see the word block somewhere in the term info information. So if you've got a semester 1 course that's on a block schedule, you would have semester 1 with the word block somewhere in the description. If you don't have that, that's probably what's going on and why they're not showing up correctly. But again, I could be wrong, so I would email the accountability office first just so they can look and see for sure. The post-secondary opportunities report is in accountability reporting right now. For those of you who've done this report in the past, you are probably trying to get to it in the wave under state reporting certification, but we have moved that over into accountability reporting. And just for those of you who might have popped in a little late to the call, we do have a few outstanding issues with PEBT. We're working on, well, the developers who have built this report is Google. That's kind of why I'm referencing them. Google did build this for us. For DHS, we are helping DHS display this information. And Google is the contractor who built this report. Right now, they're working on correcting the issue where there is students missing. And for those of you who have gotten stopped by the you must have a Google account error, that is being worked on as well. You will not need to have a Google email address or anything of the sort to be able to view this data. As long as you've got access and single sign-on, you should be able to view the data without having to log into a secondary platform. So, all right. I think I've gotten to every question in the chat so far. So I will stop the recording at least for right now. And for those of you who are still on, thank you. And we will meet again next Thursday.